How's it going, everyone? My name is Mason from Kairos YGO, and I am really excited to bring to you my Pure P.U.N.K deck profile for the March 2023 format. This is a deck that I have really enjoyed playing, and after the February ban list, I had a really hard time trying to figure out what to play. And Tri-Sprite was my main deck, but after losing Elf, I was like, you know what, I don't really have anything else that I could play. But then I remembered that I had this lying around, and while I still like Tri-Sprite and I still play it a little bit, I figured, you know what, why not put this together? And it is a ton of fun. I gotta give a shout out to Zack Butler YGO on YouTube. This deck is heavily inspired by his list. It's pretty much his list, except for a couple changes here and there. But without further ado, let me go ahead and showcase to you my Pure P.U.N.K deck profile. Alrighty, so starting off with the main deck, we have triple copies of our Foxy Tune. Foxy Tune is incredible in this deck. You can pitch itself and another card from your hand to be able to special summon any P.U.N.K monster from your deck, except for another level 8 one, which the only other level 8 is Ogre Dance. So just gets you into extra copies of Zayamin and get your plays going. It's an incredible card, and also its on-field effect is really, really good as well, with its ability to gain life points equal to the attack of a opponent's special summon monster. It can come in handy, although with this deck you want to have a bigger difference in your opponent's life points most of the time, but there are situations where to be able to last and grind your games you need to regain some life points, so triple copies of Foxy Tune is incredible. Next up, for our other level 8 P.U.N.K monster, we have triple copies of our Ogre Dance. Ogre Dance lets you send it to the grave to be able to search out any of your P.U.N.K cards from deck to hand. So it's just a really good way to get access into your Zayamin, or if you have another P.U.N.K in hand, you can search out your Shirakusai if you need to, normal summon that, and then get your plays going that way. Its on-field effect to gain attack equal to an opponent's special summon monster is really beneficial as well, and against matchups such as like Sprite, having bigger bodies on the field that your opponent can't easily beat over is really beneficial as well. And then to the heart and soul of this entire deck is the triple copies of our no P.U.N.K Zayamin. You normal summon it, you can special summon it, pay 600 life points to grab you any P.U.N.K monster from your deck, and add it to your hand is just absolutely insane. It's what gets the deck rolling. You want to be able to see this card as much as possible, so that's why we max out on copies of that. Its other effect as well is when it's sent to the grave, you can target a P.U.N.K monster on the field and let it gain attack 600 attack points is actually really nice, so that you can chain block some of your P.U.N.K effects as well. So I'm still learning the deck and getting used to some of the plays, so I sometimes forget that, but that is a really nice interaction that you can know about as well. Then for our other P.U.N.K monsters, we have double copies of Deer Note. I've seen some lists run around with 3, but I feel like 2 is just a perfect number. More often than not, it feels like it's a brick in hands, and I would rather see it or fetch it from the deck later on into my combo than open with it. Its effect to be able to reveal itself in another P.U.N.K and special summon either it or the other one is really nice at times, but a lot of the times I want to go into this card as I'm progressing my combo further, so I feel like only 2 is fine with that. And then just its ability to revive any P.U.N.K monster from grave if it's sent to the graveyard is really nice. You can bring back literally any other P.U.N.K monster except for itself, so that is a really nice effect. Next we have double copies of Shirakusai. Shirakusai is an incredible card. It is one of your big forms of disruption on your opponent's turn. You can normal summon it and pay 600 life points and fuse with itself, you can fuse with another P.U.N.K monster on the field or in your hand to get into your Rising card, or during your opponent's turn you can pay 6 to quick sync on your opponent's turn into Amazement Dragon. Is just really, really good, so I definitely feel like 2 is necessary to run with this. And then finally, for the remaining P.U.N.K monsters, we have one of our Wagon and 1 Madam Spider. Wagon is your field spell searcher, and your spell searcher, and Madam Spider is your trap searcher. Madam Spider, you pay 6 to be able to get into basically a searchable imperm against your opponent, as well as a life gain, and the Wagon to get you into your field spell, which just keeps your hand advantage going, and also, if your opponent activates an effect while it's on the field, you can go ahead and draw another card. Is really beneficial as well. So we just run 1 of each of these. I don't feel like they are as necessary, and again, all of these punks are super easily searchable from the deck, so I don't feel like we need to do more than that. Now here is the kind of scuffed portion of this deck profile, where I have 1 copy of Kashtira Fenrir, 1 copy of Scareclaw Kashtira, and 1 copy of Tenyi Spirit Vishuddha. So I was finding that while the pure build was really good, I needed something that I could go into to be able to protect my plays a little bit better, and so that's where these guys come into play. I only have the 1 copy of Fenrir, otherwise I would be running 3 copies. So Scareclaw Kashtira is just another monster to be able to search off of Fenrir, to where I can get another level 7 on board, and same with Tenyi Spirit Vishuddha. It's just a free special summon of a level 7 monster, with all your punks, lower level punks being level 3. You can get into Baron, you can get into Changing, so just either a form like an Omni Negate or a form of Disruption is just really, really good. And then Fenrir is just Fenrir. It's absolutely fantastic. I can only afford the 1 copy because I was able to trade for it, so we're running with what we got here. Next, for the hand trap portion, we have the 1 disgusting gold rare Ash Blossom, along with the other 2 Ash Blossoms. Ash is just generically good against so many matchups. Like, you gotta run it. It's honestly like a turn ender against Branded Despia, and it's just really good against other matchups, so definitely one of that. I am also running the 1 of searchable Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. The fact that you can search a hand trap in this deck is really, really awesome. And while Ghost Ogre isn't the best hand trap this format, it does have some unique interactions with some of the decks. Like, you can Ogre the Kashtira Birth and prevent your opponent from getting further into their plays, which is really nice, and you can disrupt them at a key point. And then other decks, if you hold the Ogre for like the right moment against them, it can be a real hindrance to them. So it's just really nice. And then kind of going into just bigger interruptions, we have triple copies of Nibiru. I know that there are a lot of decks that are deciding not to run Nibiru anymore, and against the Kashtira matchup, a lot of the times they're going just with their Rise Hard Pass. However, at my locals, people are still playing into Nibiru more often than not, and Nibiru is just good against a lot of other cards, and I'm able to side it out if I determine it's not good against the matchup, but I would rather have it in the main deck right now and be able to help me win my first game than needing to go into it later and be kind of behind on games and everything. And then finally, the last hand trap is our triple copies of Imperm. Again, just generically good that you want to be able to run. It stops a lot of opponents' monsters and effects and stuff, so definitely need to run triple copies of Infinite Impermanence. And then finally, another just going second card, we have our double copies of Talents. This card is really good. I feel like people are either on board breakers or they're on hand traps, and so having Talents, you will either dig further into your deck if you need to, or steal an opponent's monster or shuffle a card back from their hand. It's just really, really good and really solid. So next up, we have triple copies of our Jan Extreme Sessions. This field spell is cracked. Just the ability to get a free +2 during your turn for activating Punk Monsters effects is really, really nice, just to be able to keep hand resources and advantage that way, as well as the ability to banish a Punk Monster from your graveyard to special summon one from hand can come in handy, and also you can use it to trigger your Chenging as well if you have that. So it's just an incredible card. It's what makes the deck a playable pure deck by itself, so definitely want to max out copies of that. Next up, we have our triple copies of Emergency Teleport. It lets you grab Zeonin, lets you grab anything else. It's just really fantastic. And then I'm also running double Pot of Desires. you really don't care if like a couple of your names get banished or anything, and just being able to draw further into your deck and either blow your opponent out as quickly as possible is really, really important and really good, or just to get further resources to keep grinding against your opponent. So yeah, double copies of Pot of Desires is really nice. And then we have the one of Dangerous Gabu. It's the searchable imperm against your opponent. It helps you regain life points if you have a punk monster in the field. It's a really, really good card, and I definitely prefer it over the other trap card. And finally, the last card in the main deck is the one of Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave, it's Sacky one of that you just kind of have to run, but it's still really, really good to go back to. So yeah, that does it for the main deck. Let's go ahead and get into the extra deck. All right, getting into the extra deck, we have double copies of our Punk Jam Dragon Drive. This card is just fantastic. Every time that it's special summoned, regardless if it's synchro summoned, you can pay 600 life points to search out a level 3 psychic monster from your deck. This is the way that you can get into your Ghost Ogre, as well as just continue to get more resources and card advantage for yourself. And what's really nice is that if this card's in the graveyard while you have another punk monster in the field and an opponent targets that monster or interrupts that monster's effect or responds to it with an effect, you can special summon this from the grave, go ahead and activate its effect again. So it's just really fantastic. Next, we also have double copies of our Amazing Dragon. This card is just a mass board compulse for your opponent's board and is fantastic, especially against back row decks. If you get to go first, go full combo, and then land into this after they set their entire hand and just compulse it, that is just super, super nice during the end phase. And it honestly, that compulse is just really good. And then next we also have the boss monster of the entire deck, that being Psychic and Punisher. This card itself is just absolutely fantastic and insane. Most decks are going to have a really hard time outing this card. More often than not, you are going to be so much lower than your opponent with life points, and the fact that it gains the difference in life points between you and your opponents at the beginning of each battle phase is a permanent gain. Just means that if this card can stay on the field for more than just a couple turns, you can easily just one-shot your opponent. Next up, we have one copy of Baron the Floor and then our one copy of Chen Ying. So I am running the Baron and the Chen Ying just because I needed something to help my first turn plays. A lot of the times you're going to go into Baron before you go into your Punk plays, depending on how you open up your hand. So this is just a good way to protect you against Nibiru or something. And then just being able to put it back into the extra deck to be able to summon back a Fenrir, so you can possibly go into your Chen Ying on the next turn, or go back into your Baron, get the negate alive, is just fantastic. Finally, for the Synchro monsters, we have the one of Scarlight Red Dragon Archfiend. This card is really good in time. It's another Synchro 8. I haven't really had instances where I've gone into him a whole lot, but he's just here especially in case we go into time and I need to burn my opponent quickly. Going into the fusions, we have the one of Rising Carp. This card is fantastic. This is probably the key point of interaction. If this gets stopped, you're kind of in an awkward position unless you have like a really cracked hand. But the fact that it's able to send itself to the grave in order to special summon 2 punks from deck with different levels is absolutely insane. And then if this card is used as a synchro material for a synchro monster, that monster gets to attack twice, is absolutely insane. Next up for these C's, we only run 2. We have the one of Zeus and the one of Hope Harbinger. I'll be honest, I have yet to go into either of these, but I have it here just in case, especially because there's a lot of power spells going on right now, and if I need to, I can go into this depending on the matchup, steal opponent's spells as needed, and then slap Zeus on top of it to just wipe my opponent's field, because Zeus is always a good card. And then finally, for the Link monsters, we have the one of Access Code, just in case for whatever reason your Psychic and Punisher gets stolen because of Kashtira or whatever, you still have another win condition through Access Code, because this deck can spam out and easily Link climb. We have the one of Unicorn and the IP Masquerena. You can go depending on the matchup, you might determine that it's better to go into the IP and go into a Unicorn during your opponent's turn. Unicorn is just always a generically good extra deck monster that you want to have available. And then the final card in the extra deck is the one of Donner Dagger for Hire. I actually really like this card. It's really good. It's just a good form of spot removal, and you can just continue with your plays there. So that does it for my extra deck, and let's go ahead and get into a test hand to kind of just show you what this deck is capable of doing. Alrighty, so I'm going to go ahead and give the deck a really quick shuffle, and we're going to play out a 5-card test hand just so you guys can get a better idea of how this deck plays, how to sequence some of your plays and everything, and just so you can see the overall ceiling of this deck. So let's go ahead and give this a quick shuffle. I'm going to cut it, and let's see. So we start out with 1 Imperm, 1 Scareclaw Kashtira, 1 Foxy Tune, 1 Jam Extreme Session, and 1 Triple Tactics Talent. So this hand's a little bit unique, and again, opening this isn't that great without the Fenrir, mostly just because I don't have the other Fenrir, so we won't really have the Baron line available to us, but we still do have access to our regular Punk combo. So I'm going to play that out for you guys as follows. So we're going to start out by activating our Jam Extreme Sessions, and then we're going to go ahead and take the Foxy Tune and pitch itself and the Scareclaw Kashtira to be able to special summon out our Zayaman. The reason I'm pitching the Scareclaw Kashtira is because it's kind of a dead card in my hand at this point, and it's not going to really do me any good. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put these down right here. I'm going to activate the Zayaman, paying the 600, and I'm going to search out a copy of Shirakusai, or Shirakusai, however you say that, that card's name. I'm going to shuffle it up, and then, because we paid 600 life points, we get to go ahead and activate the Jam Extreme Sessions, drawing into a Ghost Ogre, which isn't the best, but we can search something else off of our Jam Dragon if we need to. So next what I'm going to do is I'm simply just going to normal summon Shirakusai, activate its effect to pay 600 to take these two and fuse them together into a copy of Rising Carp. And that's going to trigger the Jam Extreme Session to go ahead and let us draw another card as well. So you can either use the E-Telly during this turn to kind of go a little bit further, try to get into a Psychic End Punisher, or you can hold it on the off chance that your board gets broken and you have follow-up. So next what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and activate the Rising Carp, tributing itself. Excuse me. And we're going to special summon out a copy of our Deer Note, as well as a Madam Spider. And shuffle up. And then, before we go ahead and do anything else, we're going to pay the 600 to search out the Punk Trap here. And then we're going to go ahead, Synchro Summon into our copy of Jam Dragon. So I typically will always normally do it this way. I'll do Jam Dragon as Chain Link 1, and then our Deer Note is Chain Link 2, targeting the Shirakusai to special summon itself, and then we will use the Jam Dragon, and we will just go ahead. We have to search level 3 or lower, so we will just go ahead and get Wagon out of our deck. The reason I'm doing Wagon is we can still get into the field spell if we need to, if for whatever reason it gets popped, and we have the E-Telly to get access into our Zayaman as well. So this does not look like a lot, but we are pretty set in stone for our opponent's turn. So we're going to set our copy of Imperm, we're going to set our Dangerous Gabu, and we're going to hold the rest of their cards in our hand. Again, you could try to go further, but just the way that things played out, I would just recommend stick with this. So realistically, how you play out the turn is they summon something. You can use your Imperm if you need to. You can also use your Dangerous Gabu. I typically just so I can get the maximum amount of bounces off of my Amazing Dragon, I will typically try to hold the Ghost Ogre as long as possible. So we're just going to pretend that I was able to Ghost Ogre before activating Shirakusai, and then we can use Shirakusai, pay the 600 to quick sync during our opponent's turn into our Amazing Dragon. And so we're going to use Amazing Dragon as Chain Link 1, and we're going to use the field spell as Chain Link 2 just to try to chain block it in case they have something. But we'll just go ahead and draw into an Ash, which is perfectly fine. Still something we can use. We can Mass Compulse their field. And so yeah, so let's say we compulse their field. Now the crackback is going to be insane. So we're going to go ahead and draw for turn, draw into a Talents, that's totally fine. And we're going to go ahead, activate Amazing Dragon to special summon out our, we're actually going to special summon out our Rising Carp, just because we pretty much have gained based on how much we've burned ourselves, and so we don't really need to try to overextend too much. Just ending it as quickly as possible is totally fine. So I'm just going to activate our emergency teleport. That way I can hold on to my normal summon if something were to happen. I will search out our copy of Zeamin, activate Zeamin's effect, go ahead and search out Foxy Tune as needed, and we'll just give this a quick shuffle. Then we will go ahead and draw one card off of the session, drawing into the other field spell, not bad at all. Then we'll just take Zeamin and the Rising Carp, sync into a copy of Psychic End Punisher, which will be a double attacking Psychic End Punisher. So you can stop right here, enter battle phase, beginning of battle phase, use effect of Psychic End Punisher to gain attack points equal to the difference in your opponent's life points and yours, and you can double attack as well, and you have a 3000 body with the Amazing Dragon. So that does it for my test hand. I hope you guys really enjoyed this deck profile and the test hand, and that you learned something, and that maybe you saw this and you're like, you know what, I want to test this out for myself. But again, this is Mason from Kairos YGO, and we will see you in the next one.